Good morning, everyone. I'm Kendall S. Loizaga, and before we start our lesson for today, let's have a short review. On our previous lesson presented by Sir Francis Aguilon, we learned about different view of curriculum, different definition of curriculum, and different types of curriculum. And for today's lesson, I will discuss about the approaches to the school curriculum. So, let's start. According to the experts, there are three ways of approaching a curriculum. First is to approach it as content or a body of knowledge to be transmitted. Second is to approach it as a product or the learning outcomes desired of learners. Third is to approach it as a process or what actually happens in the classroom when the curriculum is practiced. Curriculum as a content or body of knowledge. It is quite commonly for traditionalists to equate a curriculum to a topic outline, subject matters, or concept to be included in the syllabus or a book. Uh, for example, in primary school mathematics curriculum, it consists of topics on addition, multiplication, subtraction, division, distance, weight, and so on. In secondary science, for example again, it involves the study of biological science, physical science, environmental science, and earth science. If curriculum is equated as content, then the focus will be the body of knowledge to be transmitted to students by using appropriate teaching method. And there can be a likelihood that teaching will be limited to the acquisition of facts, concepts, and principles of the subject matter. However, the content or subject matter can also be taken as means to an end. I know that you all know, you already know that the school curriculum is used by the teacher to get the topic, strategies, and methods for teaching. If the curriculum is equated as a content, so what are the ways or some ways on how to present it? So we have four ways. Number one is topical approach. When we say topical approach, content is based on knowledge and experience. For example, is in a grade 12 teachers always connect his topic into real life experience so that the students should be able to understand and relate. Number two, concept approach. When we say concept approach, fewer topics are in cluster around major and sub-concepts and their interaction. For example, botany, zoology, and microbiology is around concept which is the biology and science as a major, and their interaction with relatedness emphasized. Number three, thematic approach is a combination of concepts that develop conceptual structure. Um, Example is debate of Greek philosopher. So yun, they debate new ideas from philosophy to logical explanation. And number four, modular approach. For example, is books, handouts, and modules leads to complete for the unit of instruction. According to Skipper 1970 and Bilbao et al. 2015, there are 6 criteria in the selection of contents. So first we have significance. Significance, it means the content should contribute to ideas, concept, principles, and generalization that should attain to overall purpose of the curriculum. And it is significant if content becomes the means of developing cognitive, affective, or psychomotor skills of the learners. The topic or the lesson that you should choose should be important to the life of your learners. Number two, we have validity. When we say the validity is the authenticity of the subject matter from its validity. Knowledge becomes obsolete with the fast changing times that there is a need for validity check and verification at a regular interval because content which may be valid in its original form may not continue to valid in the current times. For me, my example is about the topic planets. So I know that all of you know that Pluto now is not considered as a planet. So if your student didn't know it, you should correct it and explain to them why Pluto is not considered as a part of our planets. So you should correct that to make the information valid. The fourth one is learnability. When we say learnability is the complexity of the content should be within the range of experience of the learners. It means in choosing topics, you should think first if the content of it is already known by your student or they already experienced it. Then they know or they already have a background to that topic. That's it. The fifth one is feasibility. In choosing the subject content, you should ask first if the subject content be learned within the time allowed or there are resources available and are there contents of learning which can be learned beyond the formal teaching to learning engagement or are there opportunities provided to learn this content. So that's it. Last one is interest. Will the learners take interest in the content? So you should ask if your topics or content are interested or not. So are the content meaningful? So makahulugan ba yung nilalaman? What value will the contents have in the present and future life of the learners? So ano ba yung kahalagahan nun sa present and future life of your learners? And interest is one of the driving forces for students to learn better. Aside from the selection of the subject matter or content that I mentioned earlier, they added 5 guide in the selection of the content in the curriculum. Number 1, it is commonly used in the daily life. Number 2, it's appropriate to the maturity levels and abilities of the learners. Number 3, valuable in meeting the needs and competencies of the future career. Number 4, related to other subject fields or disciplines for complementation and integration. Number 5, and the last one is number 5, it is important in the transfer of learning to other disciplines. So those are the guide in the selection of the content in the curriculum. Now let's talk about basics as fundamental principles for curriculum contents. Palma in 1952 proposed that the contents in the curriculum should be guided by balance, articulation, sequence, integration, and continuity. But Hankins and Ornstein 2018 also added an important element, which is scope, and that is the meaning of basics. So once again, basics stands for balance, articulation, sequence, integration, continuity, and scope. Balance. Content should be fairly distributed in depth and breadth. So this will guarantee that significant content should be covered to avoid too much or too little of the contents needed within the time. Kumbaga, ang ituturo mo lang or ang isasama mo lang dun sa content na ilalagay mo is yung mga important details lang. So, wag na yung masyadong malawak. And number 2 is articulation. The content complexity progress with the educational level vertically or horizontally across the same discipline. Smooth connection or bridging should be provided and this will assure that there are no gaps or overlaps in the content. So ito naman yung sinasabi ko na gaya nga ng sinasabi ko na don't teach too much to your students. So yung mga mahalagang content lang na kung saan magagamit nila sa kanilang pang-araw-araw na buhay. And number 3 is the sequence. Another one is sequence. The logical arrangement of the content refers to sequence or order. This can be done vertically for deepening the content or horizontally for broadening the same content. Kumbaga, magsisimula ka dun sa topics na madali patungo dun sa mahirap. So like in mathematics. So hindi ka pwedeng magturo ng division kung hindi pa marunong mag-multiplication yung student mo. So parang ganoon. And and next one is integration. Content in the curriculum does not stand alone or in isolation. Also when we say integration, it must be related to the other content to develop more power understanding to the key ideas. Another one is continuity. Content, when viewed as a curriculum, should continuous flow as it was before to where it is now and where it will be in the future. And the important elements of continuity are constant repetition, reinforcement, and enhancement. Last is the scope. Scope consists of all the contents, topics, learnings, experience comprising the curriculum. And also the scope should consider the cognitive level, affective domain, and psychomotor skill in identifying the content. So that's important. Other factors will be considered, but caution is given to overloading of content. So more content is not always better. Like what I said, hindi lahat ng nakikita nyo sa aklat or sa syllabus ay inyong ituturo. So piliin nyo lang doon kung alin yung which is important or useful to your student. So that's all. Now let's talk about the second approach, which is curriculum as a process. We have seen that the curriculum can be approached as a content, but on the other hand, it can be also approached as a process. Curriculum is not seen as a physical thing or a noun, but as a verb or an action. It is the interaction among the teachers, students, and content. As a process, curriculum happens in the classroom as the question asked by the teacher and the learning activities engaged in by the student. In an active process with emphasis on the context in which the processes occur. Like they said, content is only a recipe and process is the ways of cooking. Kumbaga, as a process, curriculum links to the content, and while content provide materials on what to teach, the process provide curriculum on how to teach the content. Guiding principle, curriculum as a process. There is no single best process or method. Its effectiveness will depend on the desired learning outcomes, the learners, support materials, and the teachers. These are the things that we consider as we come to the process or method. The curriculum process must have the desire for the learners so that it can include the cognitive, the psychomotors, and the affective elements. It has also have a methods of learning and teaching styles. And also let has an integration with flexibility, which is used as the process or method should be considered. And last approach, curriculum as a product. Besides viewing curriculum as content that is to be transmitted or processed that gives action using the content, it has also been viewed as a product. In other words, product is what the student desire to achieve as learning outcomes. So, yun yung mga learning outcomes of the student. The products or the learning outcomes of the student will not be achieved if the process that you use will fail. Kumbaga, nakasalalay yung learning outcomes of your student dun sa process or yung method or strategies na ginamit mo sa pagtuturo para ma-achieve nila yung those are the three approaches to the school curriculum. And for you to understand our lesson for today, I have here an example of school curriculum, and let's see why they approach as curriculum as a content, process, and product. As you can see, they approach the curriculum as a content kasi kung makikita ninyo, andun na yung mga topics na nakalagay na doon yung mga topics na ituturo ni teachers sa kanyang mga estudyante. And they approach school curriculum as a process naman. Kung makikita ninyo doon sa curriculum, may nakalagay na doon kung ano ba yung mga activities or tasks na ibibigay ni teachers kay student pagkatapos na ituro niya yung topics or yung lesson, which is the content. And last, they approach the school curriculum as a product. So sa last sa pinakandulo, may makikita naman tayo na kung ano ba yung inaasahan ni teacher na magiging outcomes ng process na pinagawa niya o yung mga activities na pinagawa niya doon sa tinuro niyang topics. So may nakalagay doon sa dulo na kung ano ba yung inaasahan na gagawin ng student after na ma-discuss ni teacher yung topics or your lesson. So yun yung pag sinabing approaches to the school curriculum. And that's all my report. Thank you. for listening. I hope you understand it and have a nice day.